Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. Another one about autism. It's just been going around in my mind since this second interview we've had with the school. I wish I had more viewers, to be honest, especially connected with this subject, just to get their views and whether this is an insular case, which, well, my searches on the internet and what I've experienced lead me to believe that it's not. And yet no one seems to be doing anything about it. The professionals, act as if this is the first autistic child they've ever had. What are they actually doing in their professional capacity, and even parents, to write to MPs, to the Education Secretary, to the Director of Child Services and trusts and etc., or the media? I don't know what would solve all these things. I want to do an open letter to all these people and maybe send them separately and see the separate response, but I don't know if it's better to include them all in it. I just don't know, because the thing is, people don't like when you rustle feathers, is it? I don't want to do anything that makes it worse for my daughter, but how can I sit back and do nothing when she doesn't have a voice to argue? Maybe mainstream school isn't the best place for autistic children if special schools are the only ones that have decided to adapt. But I just don't get it. Like, these schools, they all have SEND reports. They all claim they can take autistic and Asperger's and disabilities and etc. But they don't seem to really want to make the effort. Or what was that famous saying about failure to plan to fail to plan, or I don't know what it is. But that seems to be the mentality, because, autism's been around forever, and it's only been diagnosed and maybe taken seriously in the last 10 years. But it just seems to me, from my one experience of autism, I've got all these ideas of what they could do, and I'm just wondering why other people don't have these ideas. Now, and a lot of this is to do with money, and I don't believe in the money and system, but based on the system and the money that we live within, it seems to me that every child gets £4,000 at the start of term. And I've already discussed how with autistic and disabled children, because of the procedure and ehcps and having to go at term 4 to do these and etc., they get their funding at year 1. And of course that doesn't help, because the people that need the help need the funding straight away, and there's no reason not to, because everyone knows before you even start the school what children and what their disabilities you're going to get. So £4,000 for neurotypical children, and for children who have autism, Asperger's, ADHD, or that need actual support, need actually maybe another teacher who has a master's in autism or disability and etc. So a teacher for each year, so that when these kids start, they get £10,000 instead of 4,000 or 15,000. I don't know what the number would be to make it right, because the thing is, I don't know how many. It may be, if there's only one child, then maybe you get the full 15. If there's 4 children, maybe you get 10,000 each, because then you could fund that teacher for those 4 children. I don't know how right it is, but I know that autism is, there's a lot. I think I read a statistic, wasn't it? I don't even know. I don't want to say it if I don't know it, but it's a lot. It's not something that I suspect every single year has multiple amounts of autistic and disabled children, especially if you include ADHD as well. So it's like, why haven't they prepared for this? Especially these multi-trusts and academies, where they get the money and they're able to spend it and have their own curriculum. So I don't understand, do they not want to benefit autistic children, etc.? I think I read a statistic about 40% of autistic children go on to work, and that's probably because of this mainstream issue and the government and ehcps and the slowness of the funding. So I just don't understand why, if I've got all these ideas and this is my first time, why haven't these professionals, why haven't the Senkos, who are the only ones apparently, unless this is out of date what I saw, I'll try and put the link, that have to have a master's to help this, and this is only recent. This is only since 2019, before anyone could be a Senko. I mean, and teachers don't have to, in their teaching, unless this has changed since the article I saw, don't have to have a master's in special needs. So that probably explains it. They probably have a very basic autism training, and that's why they can't cope, and that's why they're saying they're failing autistic children. And if you Google it, it's rife. So who's doing anything to sort it out? Maybe people are writing to the educational secretaries and trusts and etc. And people are just saying, well, this is the system and this is what we're going with. Even the Senkos. How can that be right when you know it doesn't work? I am experiencing it the first time, and I know this system isn't benefiting autistic or disabled children. It's setting them back. And then what it's doing is allowing the school to say, well, this is the system and it's unfortunate and we're going to blame the government. And unfortunately, we can't look after your child because we're not getting the funding. Or if they do, it takes years. And then how much funding do they really get? And then they still do a piss poor job. And then, or they just move the child onto a special school and say, this is your problem. Obviously, special schools are adapted. This is why they've been created, but there's not enough of them. And so a lot of parents, like I've read out the last ones, are waiting years for a placement. I know my daughter at nursery was on a placement for a special school, was right next to the school, and never got it in 2 years. So there's not enough special schools to deal with this situation. So the mainstream have to. They have to, and why not? The prime isn't about getting A's and C's and all this thing. The prime is giving a good education to everyone, an equal good education to everyone. And just because they're disabled, it shouldn't be a reason that you can't adapt. Especially in today's age, especially when it's, how much money would it actually be? And how much benefit would it be to the government to have 60-70% of autistic or disabled children working because the government and the schools cared about them? But it just seems, I feel like I'm the only one actually saying this. I know I'm not, but why aren't the schools, why aren't the Senkos, why aren't all these agencies trying to make this change? I don't know. It's just another one of these things that we all come up against it, all disparities and inequalities where it seems common sense and yet you keep banging your head against a wall because no one really wants to change. No one really wants to make anything better because everyone's all right with status quo. And, well, this is the way it is. But it doesn't have to be. Everything could change if you really wanted to. Why would we live a shit life when we could all live a better life? Oh, humans, it just really depresses me, really. In so many different ways of all these pursuits of truths. Take care, take it easy, God bless and peace.